I do want to introduce the president and CEO of golfballs.com, Mr. Tom Cox.
Great. Thanks, Zach.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You know, it's great to be here today, and I'm going to add on. Ooh, I should stay away from that. I'm going to add to Zach's story. You know, he heard about golfballs.com in Nashville, and so my wife to be, I married her about a year ago, was flying in. We had dated at a couple of conferences. She was one of our vendors, still is one of our vendors, and she was flying in to Lafayette. And sitting next to her, somebody told her the golfballs.com story. So it was I was bona fide at that point in time, and so it worked out pretty well for me with her from that point forward. I'd like to thank George also. I'd like to thank Gerd and everyone else that's associated with the Innov8 Lafayette. So this is a very intimate group. I have to say this is the coolest venue ever as a speaker, and I would imagine as a participant as well. And so if I didn't have the mic, I mean I could just walk around down there, and it might even make a little bit better. But so what I'd like to do is make it less of a presentation and more of a conversation, if that's okay. So we'll see if it works. We've got 30 minutes for presentation. We've got some slides that we're going to go through, and then but I'd rather, if you have something along the way, just kind of raise your hand and say, hey, spend some more time on that. I'd much rather talk about the kind of stuff that you want to hear more about than the kind of stuff that we've got on our slide deck. And so I'd also like to introduce Brad Pecco. He's our marketing director and one of the real creative innovators at golfballs.com. The problem is he's a big LSU fan, and so I don't know. No. So sitting here at Lafayette, just kidding. He's got red. He's obviously I got that wrong. I'm sorry, Brad. And so to kick things off, I thought that I would share a social media, we'll call it a social media experiment with you, which was something about 3 years ago. I was off trying to do some, it sounds funny to even say this, but I was in Vegas doing some research for a new company, and I'm going to share some information about the new company in a minute, so it's legit. But while I was away, the whole team was on radio silence. It was the weirdest thing. I'm gone for 4 days. Like, I normally get emails all the time, real time, just coming back and forth. Radio silence, dead air. Nobody tried to get a hold of me. Didn't know what was going on. So when I get back to Lafayette, I walk in the door, I get to my desk. I knew something was up. Nobody's talking to me. I log in. They send me a link. And so just to also help frame this was in the days of Vince and ShamWow. And I don't know if you guys remember Vince and ShamWow and everybody, just annoying. And he ended up in jail. I don't know if you guys remember that too. But yeah, so anyway, a lot of people were getting traction on YouTube with ShamWow spoofs. And so we thought, well, let me say, we wasn't included in this. We were out of town at the time, and the smart creative types back at the business. So Tom, click this link. This is what I got.
Hey, JC here with our latest product, PhotoWow. Do you have a camera? Do you have photos? You probably have boring balls, but you don't need to. With PhotoWow, we can take your favorite pictures within reason and put them on a golf ball. We can print pictures of you, your pets, lolcats, your mother-in-law. Scratch that. Not your mother-in-law. Come on. You got your photo on your mouse pads. You got your photo on your coffee mug. You got your photo on your shirts. You need these balls. 1 dozen minimum. No setup. Printed in-house. What else can I say, people? Your friends will be asking, golf ball how? You just tell them, golf ball wow. No more boring balls. Wow balls.
All right. So the first question, CEO of the company coming, so I say, okay, how much did you guys spend on this? He said, we didn't spend anything on this. And then I said, well, how much time did you spend on it? And I would like to see a list of who worked on it and how much time they spent on it. So we're gonna circle back to that near the end of the conversation. But I'll let you know how JC did and our ShamWow spoof turns out in a few minutes. So when most people think about golfballs.com, or when I'm talking to folks, people in Lafayette, it's just like Zach. Did you really dive in the lakes? And no, I didn't really dive in the lakes, but I think that's what people think about. The out of town folks that don't really know the background of the company think we're a room full of computer geeks that hang out in a computer closet. And is Crawford here? Yeah. So we actually do have computer geek guys that hang out in the computer room. That was a great photo. Crawford was with us a few years ago. We have about 10, if you include Brad, we have about 10 computer, we'll call them creative types, whether that includes programmers, graphic artists, or even some marketing people like Brad. I would exclude myself from that, but I was that at one time. So in addition to that, we've got a golf retail store, Brad. Oh, there we go. A little delay. We have about a staff of 6 or so in our golf retail store. I'm going to touch on it in a minute, but about 6%, not 6%, about 9-10% of our overall business company-wide comes through our retail store. We have a customer service and support staff of 6 people on our corporate sales team, and an additional 4 in customer service. We have a production department. We're an official licensee of UL Lafayette, right, Brad? UL, I'm sorry. Okay, get that wrong. Actually, I could say USL, but I won't do that. And right now we're at peak season. We're printing in the production department. We have staff probably 15 there right now. We're running 2 shifts, and we're printing about 1,200 dozen a day, times 6 days a week. And we actually had a meeting. Brad and I met this morning. We had an email campaign scheduled to go out, and we were going to one of our personalization methods. We were going to send an email campaign out promoting it, and we just said we just can't do it. We're just too busy. We can't send any more. We've got a queue right now of a little over 3,000 dozen. Just personal. That's one of our 4 different printing types. So we just said no. We gotta back off on that and take a different approach. We have it's an aerial shot of one area of our warehouse. We've got about another 10 people there, and all in we have around about 50 people this time of year as we enter peak season. If you include temps and part timers, we're more like 60. So we've got about a staff of 60. What do we do? What do we sell? All the major brands of golfers in the group. Any show of hands. Bad golfers count too. Mediocre golfers. Avid bad golfers are perfect for us because they aggressively pursue the game and aggressively move through consumables. And so the direct-to-consumer part of our business, so we've got 2 parts of it. The direct-to-consumer part, which we obviously carry all the major brands, is about 60% of what we do. To slice it another way, let's go to the next slide. We do. I can't see your hand. You're just kind of sneaking. Okay. The 40% of our overall business is in the B2B segment, corporate custom logos. So you have a screenshot of the types of products that we sell there. And I'll take a sidebar, an interesting story. In 2008, when I was in Vegas, I was actually researching the loyalty logo. In 2008, we really felt the decline. In 2008, 2009, we felt a drastic fall off in business, as did most people that were in business. And so we kind of looked at our strengths and we said, what do we need to do to help? What can we do to help leverage our existing relationships? And so we had 12,000 and have probably 15,000 corporate customers right now that up to that point in time had bought logoed product from us. And so logoed golf products from us. And so we launched a companion business, Loyalty Logo, to sell the other non-golf related products. So we tried, you can't, as a golf company, you can't credibly sell Huggies. You can't credibly sell pens and pencils and those types of items. But as a promotional products company that's related to golfballs.com, it's very easy to do that, and we become credible. We knew we hit the limit when we tried to sell Christmas candy leading up to our corporate buyers. We know they're buying it anyway, nuts and that kind of stuff. And we came up goose eggs. We prepared an email campaign, and so that was some of the impetus for us to launch a loyalty logo. And so you probably wouldn't think that this represents 40% of our overall business, and as a percentage, it's probably going to continue to grow, corporate B2B. So back to the beginning, in spite of the rumors that I used to dive into lakes, I in fact didn't. But I did have a meeting the same week. I met a web developer, and this is back in November of 1995. Had a meeting with a web developer. I was a club manager at La Triomphe Country Club, and the same week it was just circumstance meeting with the guys that we were negotiating a pond contract with to dive in the lakes and pass money to dive in the lakes at La Triomphe. And I had this idea to have the divers ship, for us to work with the developer, I said to build a website to sell golf balls and to work with the divers to actually do the fulfillment on those orders. And so in our first full year, we did about 17,000 in sales. This was in 1996. Some of you guys remember John Crisp. He's the one that came up with this original logo. It's a pretty cool logo. It's kind of used alligator, Louisiana alligator eggs. So we're going to move to the next slide, or a couple slides from now. So in 96, 17,000 in sales, 97, 70, 98, 200,000. And so small business owners know what happens when you're doing a part-time business, and it starts to take things over, and it's a hobby. And so for me, it was a hobby. It had become a hobby gone awry in about 1998. And so I had to make a decision, and the decision was I was going to phase out of club management. I was going to get out of my other responsibilities, crank up golfballs.com. At the time, it was Golf Ball Warehouse. Bought the domain golfballs.com, and a couple years later bought golfball.com. Changed the name, became the full-time CEO, and began raising capital. So I mentioned John's name earlier as the designer of the first logo. I designed that one, and so it's really horrible. It's probably one of the worst logos imaginable. And about 6 months after it was my idea, somebody came along, and you see the other logo. It looks like a professional did it. So, and in fact, a professional did do it. So in 2001, moving right along, we did what you would ordinarily think is just really counterintuitive. We had grown the business for the most part by selling used golf balls. That was kind of it up to around 2000. In 2001, a couple of things happened to change that, and that was really when there was a critical mass on eBay. eBay really started. I don't remember what the numbers were, but it was like doubling, tripling, quadrupling. And the guys that were selling us the pond run balls, we had a big used ball processing center. The guys that were selling us those hadn't quite figured out how to sell directly on the internet, but eBay made it so that they didn't have to figure out how to sell on the internet. And so our best source of the best used golf balls, these guys were selling their best stuff directly on eBay. And there was a term back then, there's some of you in the room old enough to know, disintermediation. We were beginning to be disintermediated by eBay. Our divers were going direct. Second part of the reason that we phased out of the used ball business is that we wanted to build deeper relationships with manufacturers. At that point in time, we didn't have a direct account with Titleist. And so we're at that point a $2 million company, and we didn't have a direct account with Titleist. So in order to build that relationship, we really had to make a decision to phase out of the used ball business. And then part of that turn was also to focus on customization and personalization. And we basically bet the business that getting out of the used ball part of it, the golf market, and then we bet the business on customization and personalization. And it turned out to be a pretty good bet for us. And so we bought some equipment. We wrote a lot of software, and we'll talk. We've got some. I'll show you some screenshots of some of the different processes that we have. But at that point in time was when we really turned the business on a dime. We're focusing on being a customized product company. In 2004, we moved the business to Lafayette. Some of you may have recognized the blue building. It's from the air base when we were at the air base in New Iberia. We opened a retail store in Lafayette. We expanded our printing department. It gave us room to grow and a better environment for staff. And you know, part of a better environment for staff, we're about 100 yards, less than 100 yards from Jason's Deli. That means a lot. We were, when we were out on the air base, it was really it was probably a 10-minute, 5-minute drive to the nearest restaurant. And so it's better for everybody. And then 2004 to now. In 2004, I want to say our revenues were in the $5 million range. And from 2004 to present day, and that's a chart of our revenues from beginning to now. But from 2004, when we moved into the facility in Lafayette, our revenues have tripled, our staff has doubled. We've outgrown systems. Every system we had, we've outgrown, and we've put some really, really great improved systems in place for our website, telecom, accounting. We've got a fantastic team in place. We'll get to see how good Brad is in just a minute. No pressure, Brad. And our current systems, we expect realistically after having done this a couple of times, I figure they'll get us to about 3 times our current size. So before I transition, I think that's my last slide. Yeah. Before I transition to Brad, any questions or comments? Anything you want me to, Gert?
I have a question.
Yep.
So your total number of employees is about 50, 60 people at this point?
We've got, in our slowest months, it may be 40, 45. Peak, it'll end up being about 60. And that extra staff comes in our production department when like in December, two peak times. Christmas gift giving, we have days where we'll ship 1,500 packages out in a day, and almost all of them go through our printing department. This time of year, it's more like corporate.
And my question then is, because it's something that we're experiencing. We've had rapid growth here at nonprofit, but we are a business. Make no mistake, we have the same challenges that any mid-sized business has. We have about 25 employees total. So when you talk about systems, maybe you can elaborate a little more. Outgrowing systems and implementing new ones is something that you've heard. I think it's something that a lot of businesses go through, especially as you're making this shift, this rapid growth of it.
Sure. So I think probably the most relevant to us was changing our e-commerce infrastructure. I'm not quite sure how relevant it is to everyone here. Maybe half of you, it might be. But for us, about 3 years ago, we changed to. We've always had our own development, and we converted to a .NET infrastructure, and we have. And just recently, we moved our website up into Amazon's cloud to make it very scalable. When we would hit peak season, we would experience slowdown. Slowdown means sales fall off, and so we moved it up in Amazon's cloud. And anytime we have any idea that there's going to be a lot of traffic, whether we have an email campaign going out, we can just spin it up. Phone systems, it's kind of all software based now, and so I think with another unlock code, we could probably very easily scale what we have. We haven't quite. I was having a conversation earlier. We haven't quite moved our Exchange servers, still located in our office. We're on LUS fiber. It makes it really easy to super fast connection speeds, obviously. But at some point we might want to spin that up in the cloud as well.
What about the accounting side?
So we had, as most small businesses, we had QuickBooks for a while, and then we had Peachtree. And so that's kind of what small business. My wife's small business, she uses QuickBooks, and it's much more advanced now than it was when we used it. And then we converted to it was called Great Plains Dynamics when we converted over, and now it's Dynamics GP, and just the functionality. I think it's designed for companies under 100 million in revenues. So I would imagine the functionality and the capabilities will probably last there, and then we might need to do something different. Realistically, we might need to change things over. Yeah, so that's kind of the small business challenge. You want to have enough people so that nobody has to wait, but you don't want to have enough people so that there's too much capacity and you're paying. So kind of from a people standpoint, that's the small business challenge. From a technology standpoint, we always, literally Brad's going to touch on it in just a second, and some of his slides will speak to it, but we upgrade our website every week. Normally every week we'll do a roll-up and we'll upload some changes. We do A/B testing. We do a lot of split testing, different types of testing on our software, and so that's one of the advantages that we have of having our own software development team. On the other hand, there's a lot of really good off-the-shelf packages available right now that if I had to do it again, starting from scratch, I would just use a Volusion, or I would use another built-for-speed e-commerce platform that can scale up to pretty much as big as you want. All right?
Talk about, you mentioned betting the business and the new model.
Yep.
A couple things to that. Talk about, obviously, it's probably a typical, not as much of a difficult decision because you're getting paid out through eBay and the customer, and this was a survival, I guess, as a small business owner, taking the next step and really betting your business on the next move versus starting up a business out of business.
So ask that a different way if you don't mind. Right. Yep.
You have an established business, but you was betting your business on a new model. And the
Yep.
difference between those is what it took for you to gain confidence and invest in.
Yeah, so it was the golf. We saw the handwriting on the wall with what we were doing. We saw some external factors that were going to squeeze us. We also looked at our core strengths. We always did internal development for software. We knew that we could do things that nobody else could do, and so with ease of ordering online, ease of taking customized orders. So we decided that those were our competencies. We knew that we wanted to build relationships with manufacturers. It wasn't a bet that hurt our business. It was a transition over a year. We didn't the slide makes it look like it just happened overnight. It happened over like an 18-month period, and the business transformed quite nicely. And during that time, if you were selling online, your business was going to go like this anyway. I mean, whatever you were doing. And the customization just in the last 5 years is with the cafe presses are just getting real. It's why order something that's not personalized, right? And the internet uniquely enables that. And because we had such a I would say a great team, we saw where this was going, and the customization is continuing. I mean that whole trend is going to continue. So the original business plan, a business plan in a high growth company changes every quarter, every 6 months. We will commit an all day long session once a year to revisiting a lot of that, which is kind of normally in conjunction with our budgeting process. But we, as a high growth company, your business plan only works the day you write it. And so it's not a plan. It's an evolving working document that always has to continue to move because the climate's changing. I mean, it's changing. Our climate's changing so fast. Your climate's changing fast. Is that?
Well, I have a question directly to that point then, because as a small business owner, you're expecting rapid growth, right? I mean, the point being, if you sold $10 today and you sell $20 tomorrow, you double your business. So what are you using to kind of keep a bar or some kind of just a target in a business that has so many moving targets? What are you using to make sure that you guys are staying on a direct path and aren't misdirected onto something that's hot today but not really a part of your core business?
So from a number standpoint, we're neurotic. I get a sales report every hour that tells me everything that's going on in the business. Brad's going to share his neurosis with you too, where we look at website analytics so that we know everything that's going on with the business. We've got some people in the company that are experts in product. They just know it, they live it, and they breathe it. And they like that. As soon as something hits a bulletin board or a website that's an influential website, they know about it, and it helps us keep ahead of trends. The belly putter thing, I was talking to George earlier about that. We knew it was coming because we saw 3 weeks in a row that PGA Tour winners won. The tournaments were won by guys that were winning, that were using belly putters, and the manufacturers ran out of them. We had this device from a local inventor, a guy here in Lafayette named Clay Judice, that turned any putter into a belly putter. Man, so it's kind of seeing what's out there. We watch numbers, we watch the environment that we're in, and we start every day with a morning huddle. It sounds a little geeky unless you've done it, but every single business day we start with a 15-minute meeting of all the directors in the company, and one day a week we have it extended to everybody that's in any type of management position, and then we normally have quarterly full employee get-togethers. We'll normally do it over breakfast. So I'm gonna, if you guys don't mind, I want to go ahead and move on. Let Brad get going with his part. Yeah, I don't want to feel left out. So I mean, you know, yeah, okay.
Well, thanks, Tom. And as Tom mentioned, any questions, feel free to give them along the way rather than at the end. That's fine. So the fact is, about 90% of our business is conducted online. So what I wanted to do was share with you guys some of the different ways that we drive traffic and ultimately drive business into the website. As you might guess, search engines are a big part of how we do that, and that's certainly true in our case. There are really two different ways you can drive traffic from search engines into your website. The first is through natural, or what they'll call organic listings. And basically what that is the practice of optimizing your website a certain way to where when one of your customers or prospective customers goes to the search engine, types something in, hopefully you'll show up at a point where it's relevant for your company and kind of drive business that way. Now, search engines do use different methods in order who to rank 1, who to rank 3, who to rank 50. But there are methods out there that can give yourself a fighting chance to show up in the search results when they are searching for your company or business. Another way to do that through the search engines is paid search traffic. So what that is just buying ads centered around those popular key phrases. Not usually, how a search engine charges is basically per click. So every single time a prospective user clicks on one of your ads, you get charged for it. Just like on the natural side of things, the search engines do have different ways as to how they calculate how much they'll charge you per click. A lot of it's dependent upon competition. How competitive is your industry? How competitive are the key phrases that you're targeting? But those are really two main ways you can drive business from search engines. The next topic I want to talk about is email marketing. Email marketing is a gigantic channel for us. It is by far the #1 traffic and revenue generator for our company. In 2011, just last year, this channel alone generated over $2.5 million in revenue just through email marketing. So you might hear that email marketing is dead or email marketing is dying or your customers don't want to, they want to hear from you via email. It's a privacy issue and all that good stuff. While that may be true for certain industries, it's certainly not true for golfballs.com if that number was any indication. And really it's certainly not true for golf either. Recently, the National Golf Foundation, which is a highly respected publication in the golf world, they pulled a survey of golfers and said that 90% of golfers are more likely to receive communications via email from golf-related companies than through social media or any other outlet. So again, might vary by industry.
And I'd comment, our data absolutely supports that. We have 14,000 Facebook fans, and we're interactive with it, and there's absolutely no comparison. The impact, the revenue impact it has on our organization, sure, comparing email campaign, email marketing to social.
Sure, and there are other different ways, of course, that we drive traffic. I have some listed here. They're all important. It really is important to have a different marketing mix or kind of a diversified marketing mix in the event that one of your big dogs something goes awry there. And we have been hit in the past with certain Google algorithm changes that may have affected the way that our website appears. So those channels are very important during that time for us. But I just really wanted to touch on the main three business drivers for us. So as you probably know, the cost of acquiring a customer for the first time is much higher than trying to remarket back to them and get them back. So a very important metric for us is 45% of our business is repeat business. we usually use email marketing to kind of as a channel to kind of bring these customers back, but that is a very, very important important metric for us and something that we continuously try to improve upon day in and day out. Tom kind of touched upon usability testing and kind of how we test, and that's another way. I mean, we drive traffic to the site, but we want to make sure that we give them the best streamlined approach to finish the goal. So if the goal for us is to make a purchase. For you, it might be to fill out a form or what have you. So we always have testing, and I'm going to go into a little bit further, actually share an example with you guys of some of the ways that we do A/B test. So driving traffic to a website and just hoping for the best, it's just not enough. You need to understand what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on behind your website. And so analytics is a great way to do that. At golfballs.com, we have two different analytics packages installed. Google Analytics, which is what you see here, and we also use Omniture Site Catalyst. And we kind of use them both to kind of cross-reference the data there. But what you're looking at here is basically my dashboard, my Google Analytics dashboard, which consists of all the key metrics that I need to be aware of on a daily and many times hourly basis. The way that I kind of have it bucketed here, and this just works for me, is the first column is how are people entering into the website? Where are they coming from? Second column is once they're there, what are they doing? Are they leaving? Are they, or what kind of page views are they getting? Are they staying on a page long? And I have a lot of reports that kind of dive in, but this is just a top level overview for me. And the third column is conversion rate, how well are they buying, how many transactions, revenue, and things like that. So just a way for me to kind of glance and understand what's going on an hourly basis.
Yeah, so for us, if there's one analytic, there's one metric that we look at, it's conversion rate.
Sure.
Probably more than any other factor. Conversion rate is the percentage of people that buy on your website. So out of 100 visitors, if 3 people buy for every 100 visitors, your conversion rate's 3%. If you can ratchet that up, the same amount of traffic will grow your business.
Yes. No, I mean our traffic. We drive traffic. Ideally, we drive traffic to product pages. So we're in the business of selling products. So we'll drive them that way and hopefully convert them at that point. That's a great question.
You want to walk? So we have contests that run. So where we register people. So we've got about 100,000 customers, and we've got about another 150 or so thousand people that have subscribed to be in our email newsletter via a contest. We run the dozen a day giveaway with Callaway. We've run it with golf.com before. We've got some partners where we drive registrations, and that becomes a remarketing opportunity for our business.
Sure. Sure, Omniture, OMNITURE.
It's actually owned by Adobe. It's owned by Adobe.
Yeah, Adobe
bought them about a year and a half ago.
Google Analytics is a 100% free tool.
If you're going to start with something, Google Analytics will do 95% of what you want. There's just a little. We've had Omniture before there was Google Analytics. We've got a bunch of old data. Sometimes we like to look at it.
That is the best move. If you have a website or online presence, you have to have some kind of analytics package. And being that it's free, robust. I mean, it's for what you get, it's incredible, the amount of data that you can pull from that.
And so you decide the categories?
Sure. And basically, when I log in every morning, you have your dashboard, which is kind of your overview stuff. And I just kind of wanted to share some of the different metrics that I think that are important. There's some more in there. I can cut it off, but right. And then I go in all day long. Tom might say, Brad, something's going on, check it out. Then I'll dig deep into some of the reports, and you can set up scheduled reports that'll email you and things like that. I have alerts set up to where if our conversion rate drops below a certain percentage or goes higher than I expected, it'll kind of let me know. Or a traffic dip. For some reason, I expect this much traffic during a weekday, and all of a sudden it's really low. Okay, something's going on. Let's figure it out. So you can set alerts and things like that to kind of make sure you understand what's going on.
So an interesting data point with respect to our analytics that our mobile traffic has about doubled in the last year or so. probably represents 10% of our overall, what do you say, 15% of our overall
Something like
traffic
that,
right
yeah.
now. And our website conversion rate from mobile visitors is half of what our ordinary website conversion rate is. So that's actionable for us.
Yeah.
You guys, engage in text marketing.
We don't. We have our mobile visits spike every time we send an email campaign, just because people are there, right?
Yeah.
But and we're working on making our website more of a mobile friendly website. We don't have any apps right now. We don't do any mobile marketing. The first step for us is to make sure that it appears as streamlined as possible. So when somebody does come from an email marketing message or whatever else,
Our site's transactional from pretty much any mobile
Sure.
device, but it's not optimized for
Right.
it. So I'd say in the next 90 days we'll have a mobile optimized.
and that's really the step. The
website.
step is to kind of get yourself mobile friendly, and then worry about apps and creative stuff like that after. You just want to make sure that first off, make sure it works. Second off, try to streamline.
But
make sure
I
it was-
don't ever expect the conversion rate to be as high
Never.
from mobile as it is for our core business. It's just not. I mean, I think people are scanning email, they're visiting, but I think it's not. It's never. I say never. At some point it will be, but for the foreseeable future, I would not expect the buy rate to be as high.
Sure.
I was just going to say, for businesses that aren't driven from, obviously, web transactions, I mean, the same fundamental application is what we need to be considering is a measurement of interactions versus conversions.
Sure.
So, like, if you're a CPA, you may have 25 new business meetings this month, and 3 of those are converted into new clients. I think the lesson and what you guys are suggesting, just so I can,
Great.
because we do the majority of our revenue is engagement through online, but our business is face to face.
Sure.
So your close rate is your conversion rate.
That's exactly right. I mean, I don't have really much of a difference. The only way you can close
Right.
is to
So maybe it's a request for more information, a contact us form, or a request a quote form, or things like that. I mean, in the website development, in my prior life, or a few years ago, I worked for a website development firm, and most of our clients had that. It was a conversion to them was a quote submission, or pick up a phone call, or things like that. And there are ways you can track that online as well.
So, and again, just to kind of reiterate, I guess, is to say what you guys are really doing that's different from a lot of businesses is that you're letting your numbers drive your behavior. So you're saying that we had 2,000 people hit our website today. We converted 20%. That's 5% above what we thought. So let's look at that promotion, drive that again. Just as if I went out and knocked on 25 doors and had 10 people say yes, then
You try to look at the characteristics of the people that gave you a yes and do more and spend more time with those
Sure,
guys.
if there's a popular product or page that usually converts at a high rate, and all of a sudden it's not what's going on. Maybe something happened on that page or whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah, and in a sales environment, it's the same thing.
Sure.
If you have a retail store, which we are terrible with our retail store kind of per employee, how we measure that. As good as we are here, we're not that good in retail. Not that we don't, but from an analytics standpoint. And so, you can measure conversion in a retail environment. You can measure average ticket in a retail environment. You can measure revenue per employee and kind of measure your employees that way. The analytics, it's kind of I think you and I were talking about that Friday night. Business analytics, it's a growing part of running any type of a business. It used to just be big companies, and it's kind of coming down to small companies.
This big spike. No, that's from I'm pretty sure what that is from we have different companies, different third-party partners that we partner with that'll send campaigns out on our behalf, and I'm pretty sure that was.
So that particular one was Golf Logics. They have a handheld GPS golf course GPS application. So we have they're one of our, like Brad said, one of our marketing partners, and they sent out a campaign promoting a crazy rich offer. It was Pro V1 buy 3 get 1 free plus free personalization. So it kind of moves along, and all of a sudden, it spikes. So when we talked about scaling our infrastructure, we made sure that we were shored up leading up to that email campaign, because you can see what it did not only for just site visits, but also for the transactions. That's a lot of transactions for us to have in a single day.
It kind of consists upon a lot of different metrics: unique visitors, mobile traffic, revenue, page views, transactions. You can kind of see it.
Yeah, we're going to go. I've got a few more.
I got one
Okay, sure.
question for that.
Sure.
Brad probably, I don't know, maybe the person are you guys driving the timeline in which they're sending the
Absolutely.
promotion, or are they driving it as part of their?
No. Usually usually these promotions are manufacturer driven. These manufacturers have very tight restrictions on when a promotion can go active. For us, it's hitting it the first day the promotion launches. We want to be first to market and all that good stuff. So when I understand that a promotion is coming up and I think it's going to be rich enough to promote via our third parties, I'll contact my guy and say, look, I got something coming up next month. Can we see if we can get it in? Yeah, Brad, we got a spot in the calendar for you or whatever else. So I make sure those promotions are driven. And a lot of times I need to send these off to our manufacturers to sign off on the creative before we can send it out. So they're
We want
just
to make sure we get it right with them because it's going to go out to 1 million people.
at least for us, they are a facilitator. That's pretty much it.
So part of your agreement in choosing that partner is for them to agree that you have the control over
That's right.
timing
And they really prefer it that way because they just,
and then they just get the send.
right.
We give them the creative, we give them the terms of the deal, and they take it or don't, or we negotiate it.
Cool. So I mentioned A/B testing earlier. It's also called multivariate testing or usability testing.
Yeah, we'll go through this pretty quickly.
Sure. So this is an example of a recent test that we did. We were approached by Callaway. Callaway Golf's a big brand name in golf, to advertise on the side of our website. You can kind of see one versus the other. The blue background was what we were prior to it. This gray background with the Callaway products were what they had kind of suggested. So we're not just going to jump into promotion like that. They gave us some money to go ahead and advertise their product, but you can't just jump into it and just kind of say, well, it'll do better. We have to A/B test it. We want to make sure that having that stuff doesn't adversely affect the company via maybe it's too distracting, or having these extra items here could slow down the site. And there's direct correlation between site speed and conversion rate. So if a site's really slow, people are trying to check out, they get frustrated, they leave. So we needed to make sure that we tested this stuff before we went ahead and went with it. And actually, it turned out to be very good for us.
Both Brad and I bet that adding that creative on the side would be distracting, and it would slow the website down, and it would hurt our conversion rate. And in fact, after a week of testing, it helped our conversion rate, and it turned out to have a positive impact on sales. We'd have each lost $1, but we were betting each other, so neither of us would take the bet.
Yep.
All right. So, do we have a 5-minute warning yet? I'm not. Are we going to try to wrap up around? Is it 1 o'clock when we're going to wrap up, or is it?
5 minutes. That's weird. Nice job.
Oh.
It's 12:55 now.
Well, we have some more stuff then.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we continue down a couple more slides, and we can cover a few at the end. We just got a few more to go. I think they're relevant. We'll do that, and then we'll stay for plenty, any questions you guys want to ask.
Cool. So in the golf industry, manufacturers place very tight restrictions on how you can price products. You can't just say, okay, this new golf driver is hitting the market. We're going to drop the price on it, get a bunch of new customers, and then we understand that margin might take a little bit of a hit, but we'll have a head up on the competition. You can't do that. If you do that, you run the risk of getting your account pulled. And that's not just, they don't just say that to scare you. They will pull your account if you don't play by the rules. But what that really does is it kind of makes all the retailers the same. You can't, how do you distinguish yourself from everybody else out there? There's really two ways we do that. First is through customization, as Tom mentioned. We are the online leader, our tagline is the online leader in golf customization. So that is one way we do that. But another way is through customer service. We do offer 100% satisfaction guarantee. It's one thing for us to say that because a lot of companies say that, but it's another thing to get recognized for it. And actually, Stella Service, this second icon here, what they do is they anonymously place an order on your website. They'll call into your customer service department. They'll send an email to check response time. If you have a live chat function, they'll chat with you like that just to gauge the overall user experience, customer experience, and see what's going on there. And we were awarded an excellent rating in that category.
So 100% satisfaction guarantee, company-wide, makes it really easy for people to solve problems, right? There's never any question. So if we did it wrong, we solve it. If the customer did it wrong, we solve it. If the shipper did it wrong, we solve it. That just something simple like that, and you end up spending less money in management trying to figure out who's going to pay for what. We just solve it for the customer. The only exception is our friends in Ghana overseas, or some places in China. They're very friendly, but they place orders with fraudulent credit cards. And so we don't extend them 100% satisfaction guarantee because they're all fraudulent. I had to throw that one in. That was,
Yeah, we're pretty good at recognizing those orders, though.
Yep. So a couple more slides about our culture. We have a culture of customer service. We have a culture of product innovation, and I think we've already talked through these. We have a culture of entrepreneurship, and I'll just a quick story here. We were approached by the owners of Utopia Golf Club and the author. By the way, has anybody seen this movie? 7 Days in Utopia. It's a golf-themed movie. Nobody's seen it. Robert Duvall, Lucas Black in it. It's the first major golf movie in a while. We were approached by the folks related to the movie and the book. We built out their e-commerce infrastructure. In 90 days, we went from no logos to logos, e-commerce infrastructure, launched the website, and started selling products that we were producing on demand out of our facility in Lafayette. So we kind of turnkeyed this whole thing. We don't build websites for people, but this was kind of a big comprehensive project that leveraged a lot of our on-demand customization strengths. And we have a culture of fun. We'll play one more video for you and wrap it up. You guys see Dan McDonald here. He's our media director. You guys probably know him from the advertiser. He's a golf sports writer, and he's a former SID at UL. We have fun with our Facebook page. We don't generate much money from our Facebook page, but we have fun with it, right, Brad?
Sure.
Right. So this was a contest that we did about a year ago to generate. We've got about 14,000 or so.
15,000.
And so this was a video. This guy won a driver giveaway contest. We had, 20 or 30 different entries for the contest, and so Brandon won.
Click it again, probably.
Hi, I'm Brandon, and I want to show you the reason why I need the R11. Bam! The old Ping Titanium IST driver. But come on, man, I really don't use that club. This is the one I really use. I just need a long game to match my short game. Let me show you. I will hit a golf ball into the mouth of Castle Grayskull. I just need a long game to match my short game now. Vote for me.
So it was a really cool trick that he got it into the mouth of Castle Grayskull, but did you hear the kid screaming in his backswing? So the golfers, like that's neat, that was a neat trick, right? He didn't break, he probably broke some things in the process. But if you play golf, the scream in your backswing, he got it. So Brandon has a new driver now, and it's fun. And so we talk about culture of innovation, culture of entrepreneurship. We have a culture of fun at golfballs.com as well, and I think it helps drive all the other positive aspects of the organization. And so speaking of fun, we're going to circle back and wrap up with Vince here, Vince and JC. And so how did it turn out? In hours, we probably spent, remember the question I asked the team, right? They didn't spend any money, but we spent probably $8,000 in man hours or so putting it together. Was it a home run in terms of revenue? Absolutely not. Was it a useful exercise for the business? Absolutely. And I think the reason that I wanted to bring this up is that entrepreneurship is about experimentation sometimes. You protect your downside, but you always experiment and you innovate. And when you're working with creative people, sometimes they come up with stuff like this, and sometimes it's a home run, and sometimes it's just a fun exercise. And so just kind of in conclusion, so what if we're going to summarize, what is golfballs.com? Golfballs.com is a Louisiana homegrown company that uses Louisiana capital raised within the state of Louisiana talent, to build a world-class e-commerce infrastructure. And so I think I'm right on the button at 1 o'clock, and I can't thank you guys enough for having us here today. We'll be happy to stick around for other questions. I don't know if we want to field some right now. It's up to you guys. Oh yeah, one more thing. See that golf ball? We have about 200 of them over there with the Innov8 logo on one side and the golfballs.com logo on the other. So feel free. I brought them here for you guys to take some. If you're avid golfers, you can even take a couple packs. So thanks again for having us. It's been our pleasure.
We have a proprietary software that we use, and we do have our own mail server to do that. But there are some really cool stuff out there. Constant Contact one, MailChimp is another, iContact is another. But there are some really economical, creative email marketing vendors out there.
Yeah, we have one component of it that we use, a company called StrongMail. We use their software for email, just for the delivery piece of it. That's very specialized. But in terms of analytics, in terms of email creation, we all of that's in-house. Chris?
The chart showed the revenue, the numbers were unreadable. I'm not sure that.
No, it wasn't. So it started really small. And at the end last year, it was about $14 million in sales, which was up about 20% from the year before. Golf industry was down single digits. Our business was up 20 points. We're very happy with that, and we think we're hoping that this year it'll be somewhere in that range. It's a good start to the year. All you need to do is walk outside. You know how good the golf season started this year.
All right, two questions.
Yep.
You can briefly elaborate about at the time that you made the transition from being a pro at the course to full-time and raising capital to run the business and going at it full-time. Can you talk about that briefly?
Sure.
The second question is, Brad, when you guys were at a point where you're just trying to grow the numbers, the customer bases, the touches that you have out there, affiliate marketing, and briefly kind of talk about maybe some partnerships that you guys encountered with that were able to help you grow by using perhaps their email list or throwing different things out there.
Sure. Yeah, we didn't touch on affiliate marketing, but let me defer to Bob. Bob and I have played golf before. Have I ever been a golf pro, Bob?
That would be a negative.
Yeah. So Bob knows. I was in the club management side of the business, and I came up through the ranks when I was in college. I got a part-time gig there, and so it's just kind of a balance. I mean, I had how do you make the transition? I had to raise capital to make sure that the company could afford me to move from my full-time gig to the new venture. I mean, that was one of the things that was critical, and we had enough part-time critical mass generated that we had something credible to sell and to raise money on. Does that make sense? So I couldn't like do it and not have any money. You had to, that transition was kind of flattened out by raising outside capital to grow the business.
I think one of your major points is that you had a revenue stream when you went to go get capital. That's the thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a concept. It's a
requirement.
It was a high growth part-time venture that showed some real traction in the market, and also at the time it was e-commerce. Now again is easy to raise money in. E-commerce back then was easy to raise money in. I say easy, nothing's easy, but and then there's been like 10 years in between where it hasn't been so easy to raise money doing that kind of stuff.
So your second question, how do you get prospective customers, in bunches or what have you? You mentioned affiliate marketing. What that basically is you can use different networks to provide creative that drives people back to your site. When I say creative, banners, creative, things like that, graphics, and basically anybody can, or you can approve or disapprove somebody. Basically, they can put those banners on their website. And so and drive traffic that way, and so you pay them a commission on that.
I think that's where Zach was going earlier. So when we have the big outbound email campaigns, single focus creative with third parties, they send it to their list. We dictate the kind of the terms of that deal. The affiliate program, on the other hand, is a smaller piece of revenue, but it's pretty steady. And that's where we have 100 pieces of creative that 500 publishers can pick and choose from, and they send it out when they want. And we pay them a percentage of revenues.
But for email marketing, we have about 750 to 800,000 in our database, but about 250 of those are active. And as you can imagine, people are removing themselves every day. Your messages are fine, but that's going to happen. So attrition happens there. How do you get people back into that into that email database. And a way that we're doing it right now is through something we call a dozen a day giveaway. And basically what that is you enter in the contest, and every single day we give away a dozen Callaway golf balls. And at the end of the contest, we'll give away a grand prize of a bag of driver clubs and things like that. And we have different partners that are participating in this contest, so they're promoting it through their channels as well. So you want people, have contests. People love free stuff. And those people might not be the most ideal because maybe they're just entering the contest, but if they enter in and they get one message from you that appeals to them, then boom, you might have it.
So here's the assumption that we make, and it works. If we drive qualified traffic to the website and we have a contest, it's targeted traffic that people that we want to enter the contest are entering. It's really entering the sweepstakes, right? So it's not like we're going to Google and we're trying to register everybody that searches for everything. Because it's on golfballs.com or golf.com or Callaway, they're already qualified. So if we get them in the list, we know that they're online and we know that they're golf buyers.
Sure.
Brian?
Friday night, you and I were talking, and I asked you a question about personnel moves with a small business, and I'm guessing this goes more back towards the late 90s and not right now. But you made a comment that really hit home: is hire slow, fire fast. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? More in the life cycle of your business, when you found that you have that breaking point where you have to hire somebody to come on and help the business grow versus being able to do most of it yourself, so it holds you back from some of those.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of speak generally about hiring, and I wish I knew 10 years ago what I know now, right? And so if I can share one thing, it's get awesome employees. If you're an entrepreneur and it doesn't feel like your job and it doesn't feel like you're getting things done, getting qualified people is absolutely the most important thing you can do. It's the most important thing that I do. And that's been the success of the business. When I was first starting, I thought I could do everything myself, and I was wrong. And you get people on board that do things much better than you, and then the business takes off from there. I don't know half the stuff. I mean, Brad's like, he's kind of the generation that's coming right after me. I don't know the stuff that's going on. He's connected to that, and he's really good at what he does. And we've got a team of people that are really good at what they do. The comment, hires. I've never regretted letting somebody go too soon. I mean, I think that's probably what we talked about, and it's a very difficult thing to do. And we always kind of it tends to be a long process by nature, but take a long time hiring. And if someone's not a fit with your culture, if they're not a fit with your team, if they don't have the vision for the future that you do, or they're a negative influence on other people, they got to go. Let them. They're suited for somewhere else. You're not doing them any favors by keeping them in your company.
I got a question. Obviously, there's two ways to learn. One is by going out and get your teeth kicked in every day, which is experience. Two is through either mentorship or through just reading. Do you have, outside of mentorship, suggested books or resources or things, both of you, that we should be reading about business operations, leadership, growth, as well as marketing, and specifically into like web-based analytics and things like that?
Sure.
Just give us a
So I'll talk about quickly mentors. Critical. They find you. You might. It's important. Mine is a guy named Morris Miller. He was a co-founder of Rackspace, and so he's on our board right now. Super bright guy, and he helped me kind of find some of the ways that became the way that I ways of the force that I now use to manage golfballs.com. We were talking about this Friday night. Vern Harnish, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. If you want to read one thing, it's like a little tiny book. You could probably read it in a couple of hours. It is the handbook for managing and growing a small business. And if you read it, you will become better, and you'll probably end up reading it 10 times. Vern Harnish is the author. Mastering the Rockefeller Habits is the name of the book, and he actually puts on seminars, and I think you're affiliated with his organization as well. I had it was an honor. I actually went to Baton Rouge. He put on a seminar there, and man, it's a game changer. It can be a game changer for your business. It doesn't just happen. He's got a really clear structure on how you can put pieces of your business together.